Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm your host, Locke Hoover. As always, you can follow me on X at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on X. You can also check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on the show, how this team will make history, a second opportunity for this player, if this media merger will really happen, and the NCAA's big problem. And that's exactly where we're starting the top of the show of this podcast today. And it's a big problem. And that's the transfer portal opening window and the timing of it in both basketball and football. So in college football, the portal closes December 28th. You know what that is? That's the heart of the college football playoff. The heart of it. Yeah, you have your kids that are, leave midseason, already into the portal, they're done, whatever. Then you have, hold up, sorry about that. Then you have your crew that is trying to decide what to do. Are they going to... Oh, sorry about that. There we go. Now we're good. Then you got your crew that, has already decided, what they're going to do. They're going to sign out, Then you've got this group that right before the playoffs says, I'm out. I'm transferring. And it's a big distraction. You got your team trying to win a national championship game. And a lot of times, coaches, you saw this year, you hop in the portal, you're gone. I mean, get out of here. You don't come to practice. You're not part of this team anymore. And you saw that all the way around. Yeah, there were a few teams, I think it was Ohio State actually, that had a few portal kids that they stayed around for practice and the games. But still, that's got to feel weird, does it not? Yeah, you're here for, 2, 3, 4 more games. But outside of that, you're done. Now, college basketball. Where are you right now? Obviously, the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16, Elite 8 rounds is when the portal closes for college basketball. Yeah, obviously, we're in the Final Four now. But Sweet 16, Elite 8 is when it closes, like that time period. Once again, why does the NCAA allow this? Especially with recruiting going on during the portal. Makes zero sense. And Auburn, who's obviously in the Final Four, just landed a kid out of the portal. I mean, shouldn't they be enjoying they win the Elite 8 and then they're into the Final Four? Yeah, they enjoy that, but they also got to worry about recruiting kids in the portal. Instead of talking about high school kids. I mean, both in college football and basketball, the date should change. It should not be during this time period. Either move it back or move it forward. The portal closes the game into the regular season. Right? That's really when it should be. So then it's like, okay, I'm moving on, or it's not. And then obviously it reopened in the springtime, and then it reopens a little bit later in basketball. But during this time's absolutely terrible decision. It's too many distractions, and it can be a distraction. These coaches and players are focused on today this game, this round, we got to take care of business before we move on. Nope. And coaches as well. To find balance for these coaches, the game plan to execute, and then also try to re-recruit your kids and recruit other kids in the portal. And I know it's not as much of a team aspect anymore because it's yearly free agency. With some players, I get that. Even top players will hop in the portal. But why not? Another reason I think you should move the portal window later is because it gets your sports in the news, your sport in the news, and talked about more. I mean, you see what the NFL does, and it's year-round talk about the NFL. What are we coming up on? NFL draft. What's after the NFL draft? Oh, yeah, mini camp. What's after that? Oh, yeah, training camp. What's after that? Preseason. What's after that? Regular season, postseason, Pro Bowl. Then you get the NFL Combine. Preparing for the draft. Then you got pro days from these big-time colleges. Well, obviously all pro days are different times. But you got pro days talking about. And then you get in the draft again and the cycle repeats. You've already kind of made it this NFL, this college football, and it has an NFL-style format anyway. Why not extend the calendar like the NFL does? I failed to mention NFL free agency in that. Why not have a college football free agency? Because you do every year. And it's big names. It's usually 1, 2, 3, 4, handful of surprising names that leave. It's like, oh, I didn't expect him to go there, or I didn't expect him to hop in the portal, or the drama of him hopping in the portal, and then, oh, I'm coming back to Georgia, Tennessee, Florida, etc. There's some of that as well. It's a mess. It's a disaster. And it needs to, and it should be changed. But this is the NCAA we're talking about. So who actually knows if they're going to get it together? And speaking of getting it together, I think this team's going to get it together and make history. And what I mean by that is the Atlanta Braves. And you ask me, how are they going to make history? So funny stat, no 7-0 team in Major League Baseball history to start the season has ever made the playoffs. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And I did see, I think it was another tweet today that it's not as big of a deal, but to start the season set 0-7, teams never made the playoffs. But 87 teams have had a 7-game losing streak and made the playoffs. So, there's a little bit more to it. Take that for what you want. Although I do think watching the Braves, there's some urgency already on this 0-7 start. And I mean, you can go back to the Dodgers game on Wednesday where they bring Raisel Iglesias in the 8th inning. Game 7 of the season, they bring in Raisel Iglesias in the 8th inning to get 5 outs. Mind you, in a 2-0 count. 2-0 count on the batter. There's 1 out in the 8th. And they bring Raisel Iglesias in. That's a little bit of a urgency and a little, I want to say pressing, but I just want to say like urgency of, let's get off the schneid here. I mean, also, too, you look at the lineup on Wednesday, it looked like a spring training lineup. I was like, from 6 down, I was like, oh my goodness gracious. This is who we are trotting out. But they got to a 5-0 lead. You're just like, what in the world But why not? Let's mix it up. Let's try something else, right? Let's give it a whirl and see what happens. And then the bullpen struggled, which we'll get to that in a bit. I think they're going to be fine. I think their offense is going to have to it's going to get right. There's too much talent on this Braves team to get right. Now, I think the starting staff is still going to be good too. They're going to need to pick me up, that's for sure, after Ronaldo Lopez went down. They're going to be leaning on Bryce Elder, A.J. Smith-Salver, and Grant Holmes in the short term, especially until Spencer Strider comes back. Once Strider comes back, you're still going to have two of those three in the rotation, whether it's Elder, Smith-Salver, or Holmes. And what I think is going to happen is I think Holmes is going to the bullpen. I think Grant Holmes goes back to the bullpen when Strider comes back because they need help back there. They need more help back there in the bullpen. Holmes brings that. He can pitch in the 8th inning, but then he can, with the 1-run lead, but he can also pitch in the 6th and pitch 3 innings. Quality innings when to keep it close or to, hey, hold this lead, we're up 1. Bryce Elder only went 5 innings, or A.J. Smith-Salver only went 5 innings. Pitch the 6th, pitch the 7th, heck, maybe pitch the 8th, or you pitch the 6th and the 7th, and then pitch Johnson 8th, Raisel Iglesias 9th, He's a weapon, and he's a versatile weapon, and because of that, and how well he pitched last year in the bullpen, I think he's going back to the bullpen. They knew Smith-Salver was going to take time to develop because of his stuff is lights out. His potential's there. That was the thing. They've already kind of got their long guy in Sanchez. So Elder, while he could be okay as a long guy, someone's still got to stay in the rotation because you like Holmes as a back-end guy in the bullpen. And that's what I was talking about with the bullpen. There's still question marks. Holmes is a piece. And I like the Kimbrel signing, I do. Craig Kimbrel signing, I do. When he's ready, he's going to be up. I definitely believe that. Who's going down, I don't know, because I think Desmond Hernandez has pretty much solidified his role being up here because the Braves needed a fresh arm. They could have easily optioned Desmond Hernandez instead they designated for assignment Hector Neris. That tells you all you need to know, I think, about Desmond Hernandez and what they think of him. It's pretty simple. Now, Jesse Chavez came up after Hector Neris, pitched 3 innings, designated for assignment, re-signed a minor league contract with the Braves. So he's another option to potentially be called back up if and when they need a long man. But they need Kimbrel to be Craig Kimbrel, not the last month of this season, not September. They need him April through August of last year. That's how he was. That they need him, and why can't he be that way, right? Now, I think this is a good baseball team. I do. I said that, and I believe it. Just because they're 0-7, does that change your opinion of how they were in spring training? Of this team, who they are? Another example, Baseball America. They do a lot of prospect stuff, a lot of rankings. They did the top 100 players in Major League Baseball. Guess who led the list? No, and it wasn't the Dodgers. It was the Braves. Had the Braves with 9, the Astros and the Dodgers with 8, The Padres was 6. All the usual suspects you are on it for the Braves. Acuna, 15. Riley, 22. Harris, 39. Sale, 40. Olsen, 66. Strider, 83. Murphy, to a lot of people's surprise, 89. Swellenbach, 91. And Ozzie at 100. And that shouldn't shock you. That shouldn't surprise you. This team is not lacking talent. It's there. They just got to perform to what they're capable of. Yes, this team has already dealt with a lot of losses. Renato Lopez, a nice piece, absolutely nice piece in that starting rotation. That's going to be a loss for sure. Not a top 100 player, but a loss in that starting rotation. Without a doubt. There's no denying it. And then obviously the loss of Jerison Profar due to PEDs gives you this guy's second opportunity, a second lease on life. And that's Jared Kelenich's opportunity to potentially try to take this position and be the guy. The Braves tried to make him the guy last year against righties. And then late they signed Adam Duvall because Adam Duvall was just sitting out there, just there. Braves might sign Adam Duvall again this year in a minor league deal and see what happens based on their outfield juggling right now. But Kelenic had 15 homers last year, career high, but he lost his job to Ramon Laureano, and rightfully so, as he only hit .231. Presiding, like I said, good defense, but he had a chance to be a starter. They want him to be a starter. And he wasn't going to be started even coming into this year. Obviously, signed Jerison Profar. And then they signed Brian De La Cruz, which I like the move, to platoon the lefty-righty out there with Kelenic and De La Cruz. Well, now you've got basically 80 games where if you play and perform well, you're going to play every day. You were playing a little bit a month and a half for Ronald Acuna till he came back. Then it was Profar, Harris, Acuna. Well, obviously that's changed with the 80-game suspension. And if you continue to play well, you're going to be eligible for you're going to be in the playoffs and play in the playoffs and could play a vital role because Profar can't play in the playoffs. He's not allowed to because of the suspension. Jared Kelenic also has minor league options left. And like I said, he was viewed as a fourth outfielder. If he hits, he plays. They know he's going to play great defense. They're not worried about that. And they signed Alex Verdugo to a minor league deal to get ready to be potentially a fourth outfielder to come up, and maybe that was the spot that he was going to take Jared Kelenic's spot, or maybe it's Brian De La Cruz's spot. One of the two, whoever was playing better, was probably the one that was staying up and the other one to get an option because Brian De La Cruz and both Kelenic have minor league options. Well, now we'll see what happens with Stu Fairchild. Might be the one that gets DFA'd when Alex Verdugo is ready. Maybe we'll send Kelenic down if he's struggling, see if he can get his bat going in AAA, bring him back up. But this is his opportunity to take it and run with it. Just like, once again, Bryce Elder's opportunity is here. Renato Lopez is out potentially for the year. He could be out for the year. Can he come up, pitch solid to be 5 1/3, 6 inning, 3 runs? That's really what we're asking right now. That's all we're asking from Bryce Elder. Maybe it's that 2 times through the lineup, 5 innings with the lead or it's tied. That's fine. That's what we need from him. Not much what we're asking for. Dodgers hitting a good first start to come up for Bryce Elder. Not a good chance to make a good first impression, obviously, for this season. But I've told you in what I think of Bryce Elder. You can go back and listen to some of my previous podcasts about Bryce Elder. And I hope he gets it together because the Braves need him. Actually, they absolutely need Bryce Elder to be okay. He doesn't have to be great. He has to be okay. And that's really what the Braves are wishing for, hoping for, and wanting. Now, man, something that ESPN is wanting, but I hope doesn't happen, is they're looking to make a play to buy the NFL Network. And I don't think that's a good thing. It's a good thing for ESPN, not for the consumers. If ESPN is able to buy NFL Network, they could ruin it. They can eliminate it and completely change NFL Network for what makes them good and what makes them great. If you want football, news, content, what do you watch? You watch NFL Network. Because they talk about the NFL. ESPN talks about the Cowboys. Yeah. When they talk NFL, it's Cowboys, It's why are you changing? Why would you ruin such a good product that is the NFL Network? I mean, their shows are okay, but it's anything better than ESPN puts on here during the week. And I'm talking about shows. I'm not talking about games. And I don't know anybody that watches ESPN outside of the games. I've never heard someone say, "Oh yeah, I love that show on ESPN." No one says that. No one does. It's, "Oh yeah, the games? Oh yeah, I'm in. College football, basketball, NFL." Then your other sports, maybe like gymnastics, college baseball, college wrestling. Those. They get one time a year during their championships. You hear those, yeah. But I've never heard anyone say, "Oh my gosh, I love First Take. I love PTI. RIP on that. I love Around the Horn. RIP on that as well. Man, I love their NFL live shit." No. I love their baseball. Oh, wait. They don't do baseball tonight. They don't care about baseball. No one says I love ESPN shows. So that's why it makes me nervous for them to go and touch NFL Network and ruin it. It would not good for the consumer at all. Also, too, it would take away competition. Big time competition trying to compete with the NFL for their news. NFL news is stuff and their draft, NFL draft, and they would get NFL games. They're also in the running to buy NFL Red Zone, which would obviously be huge for them, which they could potentially screw that up as well. But the worldwide leader, nobody watches on Sundays. And I put down in quote, the worldwide leader, a sports station, is not being watched on a Sunday during the most important time for them, most excited everybody gets. That's NFL football. Because it's watching Red Zone, NFL Sunday Ticket, or they're watching their CBS or Fox game of their local programming. Leave NFL Network alone. I hope it doesn't go through. I hope they don't buy it. I think they could very easily really mess up the programming because it's ESPN and we don't need that as consumers. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Lock It Up Media, on X. I'm Locke Hoover. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports on 85280 Sports. Thanks. Talk to you next week.